In yesterday's demolishing of the Tennessee Titans, the Detroit Lions sent a very loud and clear message throughout the entirety of the NFL. They are the best team, and they are quite literally in a league of their own. We're going to talk about it, folks, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. My friends, I'm going to tell you this right now. That game yesterday against the Tennessee Titans, that game was, memorable and awesome for a lot of things. The fact that, we were able to win that game, put up a 50-burger, and do it in probably the most unorthodox way that you could possibly do it to win a football game. That was awesome. The fact that, it was in essence a full, complete game as far as all units were working together to try and win the game. Not saying it was perfect, not saying it was clean, but every single unit was contributing. It was a total team effort. But here's what about that game has to really be the true story, the true message that the NFL and the rest of everybody that's associated with it, and I'm talking about all other 31 teams, needs to get through to their brains. The Lions, we're not screwing around anymore. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. I mean, if you could come up with another phrase or whatever to say we're not screwing around, do so. But you take a look at the Lions. This team quite literally has become an absolute monster. I mean, you are talking about a team that is destroying opponents. Let's just look at this from the perspective of what the Lions have done, not only over the course of the season, but specifically what they have done over the last month. I mean, dude, you're going to get some very interesting stats here, and it's going to be like, okay, I know Halloween's right around the corner, so this is going to look freaking spooky as hell. Take a look at this, folks. We're going to go by each unit, except for the special teams, because most people don't want to talk about that. I might throw something in the end, though, but we'll get to that maybe. Let's start with the offense here. The offense. Over the last 4 games, the Detroit Lions offense has scored the Detroit Lions have scored a grand total of 172 points. 166 of that by the offense, with 6 done by the special teams. That was the punt return yesterday by freaking, Khalif Raymond. Okay, here's why I bring this up. That 172 points that the Lions have scored over that 4-week spread, it is number 1 in the NFL by any team. In fact, it's not only number 1, it's number 1 by a damn wide margin. The next closest team is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 138 points. That's a 34-point difference, folks. That's an entire game. 34 points is in essence what most NFL offenses can be reasonably expected to put out during a game. So even though we've played 4 games, we have in essence an extra game on our point differential between the next highest scoring team. That's absolutely insane. That's crazy. But it gets even more ridiculous. If you take a look at the Lions' actual point differential between the points they've scored versus the points they've given up, over the last 4 games, there's a 91-point differential. The next closest team, the number 2 team in that time span, is the Commanders with 50. That's a 41-point difference. The Lions are literally just absolutely dominating, destroying, decimating, humiliating, embarrassing teams. It's not even a contest most games. And a lot of that has to come with the people on our offense that are making plays. Again, we want to talk about the offense. I give a lot of freaking kudos, a lot of freaking praise to Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson has really started to show the creativity on a whole nother level. I mean, we've talked about his creativity before, but this year he's freaking throwing out a trick play damn near every freaking game. And almost every single time they work. But if we really want to start and talk about who is really the one that starts and ends everything with this offense, it's got to be Jared Goff. First and foremost, let's talk about Jared Goff from the totality of what he's done so far this year. Goff has a 74.1 completion percentage rate. That's number 1 in the NFL. He has 5 yards short of 1,700 passing yards. That's ranked 12th. He's got a 9 per average throw, which is first. He has 13 passing touchdowns, which is tied for 8th. And he has a 115.3 passer rating. That's ranked 2nd. Those are MVP numbers. Jared Goff, as I said before in a previous episode, he has got to be the favorite. He has got to be the front runner at this point. Because you've got a guy like Jared Goff that's playing at this level, and he's playing for arguably the hottest team in the NFL right now. That's just ridiculous as far as the production he's putting up. But if you take a look at how Goff has performed over the last 4-game period, talking about that within the same perspective of that 166 points that the offense has scored and the point differential and everything, Jared Goff over the last 4 games has completed 84.3% of his passes. That's number 1 by a wide margin. The next closest is 71.9%. Goff's missed only 13 passes. He's got 972 passing yards, which is ranked 12th. He's got an 11.7 an average a throw, which is for first. Next closest is 9.7, a whole 2 yards shorter. Goff has 10 passing touchdowns, which is tied for third. No interceptions and a 155 passer rating. That's number 1. And for everybody that remembers what the perfect passer rating is, that's 158.3. Over a month's time span, Jared Goff has been damn near perfect. The next closest passer rating over the last 4 weeks is 126.5. Goff is literally on another planet in comparison to other quarterbacks. I mean, it's not even a contest. I don't care what you want to try and spew about freaking Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. They all need to take a seat. Jared Goff is leading the way right now, and he's in charge of the classroom. The rest of y'all better be paying attention to him. And that's not even the half of it. There's still more to Jared Goff. Goff has also broke Kurt Warner's record of the highest passer rating over 5 straight games. Goff's record is now at 146.5. Kurt Warner's original record back in 1999, Greatest Show on Turf 1999 Rams, was 144.8. Dude, you're talking about a quarterback that damn near almost can't make a damn mistake. When you've literally missed only 13 passes over a month, that's, again, damn near perfect. But again, it's not just Goff with the offense. It's obviously other people. We have to take a look at the running backs. Dude, you take a look at these running backs. Gibbs and Monty, as they like to affectionately be called Sonic and Knuckles now. These two are absolutely just, they are the perfect combination punch for an offensive running game in the NFL. Take a look at Gibbs. This was put out, I think, on Detroit Lions PR the other day. Gibbs is now the 4th player in NFL history to have a 5+ yard per carry average in 6 straight games. You want to know the other 3 guys that have done this? Because it's now been done 4 times. Adrian Peterson in 2012, which, wait a minute here, that was the year Adrian Peterson won the MVP award. Chris 2K Johnson from back in 2008, arguably one of the fastest human beings that's ever lived. And then Franco Harris, the freaking Hall of Fame running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers back in 1972. That's some great company to be keeping if you're Jahmyr Gibbs. And again, much like I did with the offense, Goff, and everything else, what's Jahmyr Gibbs done over the last 4 games? The last month of work? These numbers, holy cow. Gibbs has only ran the ball 52 times. That's 20th out of all running backs. But yet he has the 5th most rushing yards over that time period. He's number 1 in rushing touchdowns, and he's number 1 in average per rush. So pretty much what that means is that Gibbs isn't touching the ball nearly as much as everybody else, but yet he's still outperforming everybody else. That's insane. That's literally the only description I can give for this offense virtually is insane. It's hard to wrap your brain around it. And then when you take a look at how, freaking Monty has done over the last 4 games, it's not nearly as good, but it's still solid production. 184 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns, a respectable 4.4 in average rush. You're talking about 2 guys over the last 4 games that complement each other rather well. And then when you take a look at what they've done on the season, I'm going to put them up together at the same time. Again, Gibbs tied 21st for all rushing attempts out of all running backs, but yet he's 6th in rushing yards, and he's tied 6th in rushing touchdowns. Then you take a look at Montgomery. Montgomery, he's a little bit more towards middle of the pack, but his rushing touchdowns are top 3. You're talking about 2 running backs that they play different styles of game, but together, they are a combination that is impossible to stop, and I mean that quite literally. When you take a look at their combined production, they have ran the ball together for 185 times for 1,006 yards, 13 touchdowns, 5.4 in average. Now, the one number I want y'all to pay attention to is that 1,006 yards. When you take a look at the rest of the NFL right now for running backs, and I specifically put emphasis on that, running backs. I don't give a damn about scrambling quarterbacks. When you talk about the running back tandems, the running back duos in the NFL, Monty and Gibbs, Sonic and Knuckles, they are the most productive and balanced running back duo in the entirety of the NFL. Now, why do I specifically say it that way? Because the actual most productive running back duo is actually the Ravens, Derrick Henry and Justice Hill. But it ain't balanced. Derrick Henry has 946 rushing yards to Justice Hill's 104. And even when you combine the 2 together, they only have 1,050 yards. That's only 46 more than Sonic and Knuckles. That's why I'm saying our tandem is way more balanced. It's getting, used by both guys respectfully. For the freaking Ravens, it's pretty much just the Derrick Henry show. So that's the rushing offense for our team. Then we get to the receivers. Now, here's the thing, folks. I'm going to say this right now. The receivers have had pretty much a quiet year this year. It's not exactly been just a wow for the receivers. I mean, even for Amon-Ra St. Brown, his numbers are a little bit down comparatively, but he's still producing at a really good level. He still has 41 catches, 408 yards, 5 touchdowns, almost 10 an average a catch. That's pretty solid. But when you take a look at J-Mo, the guy who, is gone through, is now in the, how do I say this? He's now halfway through his suspension of 2 weeks. Jameson Williams has only 17 catches, but he's only short like, 50-something yards in comparison to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's got 3 passing touchdowns as well, but his average is 21.2 per catch. Again, insane. Offensively as a whole, this Lions unit is, I want to say it's the best in the NFL. But I know somebody would probably try and argue with me on it. So I'm just going to say one of the best. But in my mind, it is the best. You take a look at what the Lions are currently ranked from top to bottom in all the categories. I'm going to put it up on the screen. They are quite literally top 10 in virtually every single damn category. The only 2 categories that they are not ranked in top 10 or more is 4th down percentage and passing yards. And I mean, that's kind of expected. When Jared Goff literally only throws 85 passing yards in a game, that kind of happens. But, I mean, for crying out loud, take a look at their DVOA. Take a look at their PFF grade. Their DVOA is 16.7%. That's fourth best in the NFL. Their PFF grade is 80.1, also fourth best in the NFL. You're talking about an offense that virtually has no weaknesses. Like literally almost none. So that's the offense. Spent a great deal of time talking about them. But now let's talk about the defense here. The defense I'm not going to get into as much specifics because I can't really focus on individuals as much with the defense because the defense is kind of more of a total unit kind of package. There's less representation for individuals on defense. Now, if Hutchinson was playing, different story. But let's seriously take a look at said defense. While the offense is overpowering and dominating teams, the defense has been doing its fair share of work as well. If you currently take a look at the Lions right now, they are tied second in the NFL in takeaways. They have 15 takeaways right now. The only team that has more, I think right now, is the Green Bay Packers. They've got 19. Okay, well, here's what is funny about that. Not only are the Lions tied for second in takeaways, but they're also tied second in the NFL with the most defensive interceptions. They have 10. Now, this is where we're going to get some individual recognition for this defense. Of those 10 interceptions that I'm talking about, Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph make up 90% of them. They have 9 out of the 10. And when you take a look at where they rank individually in terms of interception leaders, Kirby Joseph is second with 5. Brian Branch is tied third with 4. Tied third with 4, pardon me. Again, much like I did with the frickin' running backs earlier, there is no defensive backfield tandem, combo, whatever you want to call it, safety and cornerback, other safeties, I don't give a damn. There is no other defensive combination for, backfield cornerbacks or safeties that has more interceptions combined than Branch and Joseph. Those two are an absolute terror for quarterbacks. You throw the ball into the middle of the field deep, chances are it's coming down with an interception. Because those two are ball hawks. They get their hands on the ball and they come down with it. Now, I spoke about Hutch. What's ironic about this is that Hutch has not played for 2 weeks. But if you go on ESPN, he is still tied third for most sacks in the NFL, despite not playing for 2 weeks. With 7.5 sacks, he is still tied third in the NFL for sacks. Now, I'm going to say this. There is the issue, though, of the pass rush element, which I'm going to get to that in another episode. But the pass rushing element, ever since Hutch has gotten injured, has fallen off a cliff. Like, it literally has taken a nosedive. But let's take a look at how the Lions defense has done as far as an overall unit. Now, when you take a look at the numbers as I put up on the screen, the Lions defense has done very, very good in limiting points. They're top 10 in that category. They also, like I said, they're tied second in turnovers. They're second in passer rating. They're 5th in rushing yards. But where they're truly making their money, where they're truly showing their impressive capabilities, is in the freaking situations, in the crunch downs and situations. They're second in third down percentage. They are tied second in fourth down percentage. They're 6th in scoring drive percentage, and they're 8th in red zone defense percentage. You are talking about a team that when it's like, okay, we're in third down, fourth down, we're getting close to them potentially scoring or, getting into the red zone, the freaking Lions defense, it clamps down and they virtually stop everybody. To have a literal top 10 performance across the board for all of that, that's unheard of. You're not going to find many defenses that are able to do that. They're usually going to bend or break somewhere. But this is a defense that when it comes time to make the big plays for big moments, they virtually do it almost every single time. And when you've only given up 134 points, which is top 10 in the NFL, you're doing something right. Because, their DVOA and their PFF grade, much like I did for the offense, DVOA is a minus 17.2%. That's third best in the NFL, folks. But the PFF grade, 84.6. That's the number one grade. Number one. So you're talking about here a defense that is absolutely, even though in terms of the quantitative stats, the passing yards and all that nonsense, the rushing averages, it might not be pretty. But everything else, as far as how you measure them in a quality measure, they're doing absolutely spectacular in. And like I said, I'm going to do a little bit about the special teams here. Special teams are absolutely just killing it. Dave Phipp, probably the best special teams coordinator in the entirety of the NFL. And it's pretty damn easy to be that way when you've got an all-pro punt returner in Khalif Raymond. You've got, I'm telling you this right now, I'm willing to bet that Jake Bates is probably going to get an all-pro nod, maybe even go to the Pro Bowl. And then on top of that, you've got Jack Fox, who's the best punter in the NFL. Like, dude, when you got guys like that on your special teams unit and also guys like, Jalen Reeves-Maben, you're going to have a great time as a special teams coordinator because those guys are the best at what they do, which is why our special teams is probably the best in the NFL. So what am I getting at here? To wrap this all up, to sum it up here. If you think about it, according to the analytics and according to the stats and everything else, the Lions have a top 5 offense and they have a top 5 defense. Because again, DVOA, PFF for both of them, top 5. Okay. The Detroit Lions have an MVP caliber quarterback in Jared Goff who is playing better than virtually everybody else. I don't give a damn. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, nobody else is touching him right now. Goff is clearly the best quarterback in the NFL. And I will die to the death on that one with anybody. Because you ain't going to beat me on that argument. Not the way he's been playing this year. Then, the Lions also have the most productive and balanced 1-2 combo punch at running back in the entire NFL. Over the last month, our offense has scored more points than the NFL scored more points than every other team in the NFL by a huge margin. And then on top of that, we have the largest point differential of all teams by a massive margin. And then, tacked on top of all that, we have a defense that is top 3 in takeaways with 2 ball hawk safeties that literally come down with the ball at a ridiculous rate. We also have a stout rushing defense and a defensive squad that is able to clamp down in critical situations to stop opposing offenses. And then, like I said, arguably the best special teams group in the entirety of the NFL between Jack Fox, Jake Bates, Jalen Reeves-Maben, and all the rest of them. So here's why I have this episode marked the way I have it. Here's my question. I ask you, NFL, are you scared yet? Dude, this Lions team ought to scare the ever-living hell out of everybody. I don't care who you are. The Ravens, okay, if you'd have beat the Browns yesterday, you might have had a leg to stand on. But the fact that you lost to the Browns of all teams, yeah, you can take a bow. The Chiefs, you got a quarterback that has more interceptions than touchdowns right now. I'm sorry, you're not playing your best football. You haven't played your best football, and we're at the midway point of the year. That's a problem. Okay, you want to talk about the Bengals? They're 3-5. Joe Burrow's been playing great, but they ain't doing anything this year. Who else you want to talk about? The Packers? Oh yeah, that's right. You got a quarterback in Jordan Love who's been dealing with injuries all year, and he's a turnover machine. You want to talk about the Vikings? Okay, the Vikings have been brought back down to earth. They've lost 2 games in a row. Shall I continue? That's my point. There's no other team in the NFL right now that has dominated, who has literally been the embodiment of fear for opponents like the Lions. The Lions are playing on an entirely different level. That's why my freaking thumbnail image says league of their own. Nobody is playing like they are. Nobody's even coming close to touching them. That's why I'm saying, are you scared yet, NFL? Because if not, you should be. But anyway, Having said that, I'm going to end this episode, and I just want to say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to subscribe to the channel. I also encourage y'all to please make sure you like and comment, especially if you liked what you saw. I also want to encourage y'all, please, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that way you guys never miss any more content I push out. Want to also tell y'all and encourage y'all, please, share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you possibly can. The more we can do that, the greater the channel has a reach and spread, and the better we're able to get in new content viewership. And with that being said, whether this is your first time watching me or this is your however many time you've been a long time watcher, I hope you all enjoyed the content. I also hope you all got something out of the content that you enjoyed and maybe learned something. And I hope everybody has got a great day going on right now. I hope you all got something that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.